Geopolitical alliances are all about interest. I give you A, you give me B, and both will combinedly thrash anybody who attempts to block these transactions. This is how the USA established its dominance in the first place, but now the great experiment is failing. Hi and welcome to TFI English, the national socio-political analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I'm your host Apoorva, and in this video, I'm here to tell you why the much publicized I2U2 is standing on thin ice. So let's begin. I2U2 is composed of 4 nations, namely Israel, India, UAE and US. The first I2U2 summit has already taken place. However, there are a lot of issues which need to be sorted out. Let's analyze the I2U2 by breaking them into separate factions. India is the only nation in the world where Jews were never persecuted. Moreover, the existence of modern-day Israel may be credited to Western countries, but Indian soldiers were the ones who paved the way for free geography in the Battle of Haifa. Apart from Soviet Russia, Israel is the only country that has been supportive of India in weal and woe. Until recently, Israel was the second biggest supplier of Indian defense imports. Israeli companies are working in India's energy, renewable energy, telecom and other key sectors. There was a time when the Arab world and Israel were not on the same page, but the emergence of Iran turned out to be a big incentive for both the geographical entities to come together. For Israel, Iran emerged as an effective challenger to its military might, while for countries like UAE, Shia-dominated Iran is always an existential threat. As Donald Trump focused on withdrawal of the troops, UAE realized that it needed a military partner in the region. Israel was the answer, and Trump brokered Abraham Accords brought these countries together. For various interest groups, India and UAE should have been arch nemesis. However, both the countries have done well to coordinate on only profitable grounds. PM Modi specially set the tone with his tour in 2015. 2 years later, the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi was the chief guest at India's Republic Day parade. The UAE has become one of the top 5 trading partners of India. It is also keen to become a key partner in the revival of Kashmir Valley. In February this year, both countries signed the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. The presence of the USA is a major challenge. The American attempt to monkey balance is falling flat on its face. The Biden administration has not been able to convey to all 3 countries that it is their friend. In fact, in a few instances, it has done the exact opposite. For instance, it keeps telling India that Americans will always stand with India when it comes to their confrontation with China. However, on the other hand, it keeps pumping money into Pakistan. The US wants to counter China's rise through India, while at the same time counter India's rise through Pakistan. This is one of the reasons why it keeps trying to lecture India on minority rights and religious freedom. Similarly, Israel too has faced the brunt of US's opportunistic stances. As soon as the US discovered its shale oil reserves, it felt that it did not need Israel to pressure the oil-rich Arab world. The Obama-Netanyahu row on Palestine became a turning point in the decades-long friendship. The tensions subsided for a bit during the Trump era as he recognized Jerusalem and Israel's sovereignty over Golan Heights. However, as Democrats came to power, the improvement died down. Anti-Israel lobby is dominating the foreign policy of Biden administration. The UAE can easily claim that America has been hostile to it, especially in the recent past. The US has accused UAE of censoring inhuman practices like torture, arbitrary detentions, abuses, threats of rape and beatings. Moreover, the Democrats have not been supportive of the UAE's defense mechanism as well. While they agreed to sell the F-35 to the UAE, they wanted the UAE to use them according to their commands. This forced the UAE to cancel the deal. Similarly, Biden administration also provided an indirect boost to Iran by removing the terrorist tax from Houthi rebels fighting against the UAE. To put it simply, Democrats undid the development done by Donald Trump administration. It is exactly here that the solution exists. Unlike Democrats, Republican politics is not dominated by various identity groups. They just want to preserve the American interest in their traditional bases. Political parties in Israel and Republicans have similar ideological leanings. They are both conservatives by nature, and its effects have been observed in past 4 US's presidential terms as well. Even Israel's left-wing politics is a milder version of the US's right-wing. Similar patterns have been observed in Republicans' relations with UAE and a resurgent India. Waves of nationalism are sweeping over every member of the I2U2. UAE needs it because it has to survive economic onslaught due to drying up of its oil revenues. Israel has always been on the same track. On the face of it, I2U2 looks like an offshoot of Shinzo Abe's Squad. The concept of pan-Arabism is dying its gradual death. Both Israel and UAE need each other. India, on its part, has been monkey balancing its commitments in the region for decades. The USA too needs to have its presence in the region, and there is no better way than aligning with Israel and Arab hegemons. However, the equations have changed, and all three countries of the I2U2 demand a strong, supportive, and committed America. This is not possible until globalist Tories Democrats are out of power.